probably there the whole time. So that's going to be the general procedure for access to the counseling. Also, if you're a new student, keep in mind, I'm pretty sure you still have to get a parking pass to park in the parking lots, which doesn't really seem fair. I have to pay $100 a year for a parking pass. I'm not even going to argue with this stuff, but that's the way it is. But you're going to want to check with the college. I don't have the answer to that. I think you might. Right? All right. Any questions at this point?
Yeah, just for the parking lot. Do we have any stickers for parking lots?
Yeah, so they give out hang tags that you hang on your rear view mirror, and you need to do that. If you go into MyMC, if you log into MyMC, somewhere in there is a link. It's like request my parking pass or something like that. But there is that in there, and you can always contact security directly. I think their number is 240-567-5222. If you need to. In fact, even to ask them if parking passes are going to be required on campus this semester, I just don't know. But yeah, I don't know if there's a cost. I'm just not sure. A lot of this is just so new to me too. I'm in the dark on a lot of stuff, just like most of the students.
They don't charge the students for a pass.
Oh, okay, so they only charge us faculty because they give it to us so we can put it in one pocket and then they take it out the other. I guess.
Yeah, so
Okay.
As a student, when we enroll, they charge transportation fee and that includes the...
Okay, so it's part of your fees, it's not extra. Okay, good. Yeah, so if you're a registered student at the campus, then you get a parking pass for free. That's the answer. But just contact security. Again, we're not going to be meeting for a couple of weeks on campus, so you have plenty of time to get one if it needs to be mailed to you. Right? All right, so let's go back to the syllabus. General program information. If you are majoring in or pursuing carpentry or remodeling, your program advisor is Peter McNally. If you're pursuing electrical wire or renewable energy, like the solar program, I am your program advisor. And then if you're pursuing HVAC, your program advisor is Jerry Williams. And all of our contact info, you already have mine. But if you're in any of those parts of the program, or if you have particular questions about those trades, I would encourage you to contact either Peter or Jerry. And like me, they're not on campus much, so email is going to be the best way to get to them, and their contact information is on Montgomery College website. Okay? All right. Probably this doesn't matter to most of you or any of you. It usually doesn't to most people, but this is what's called a co-listed course, meaning credit people can be in this class and non-credit people can be in this class. If you sign up as a credit student, you want to switch to non-credit or the other way around, you have one business day from the first day of class to do that. Now, again, because of the chaos, if you did want to make that change, maybe they'd let that one day slide. But you would have to contact someone at registration and say, hey, I'm a credit student and I want to switch over to be a non-credit student, right? Or vice versa. If you sign up for credit and that's where you want to stay, you don't even need to do anything. Just, you're good where you're at. Now, what's the difference? If you live in Montgomery County, it costs the same amount of money to take it as a credit or a non-credit student. However, if you are receiving financial aid will only cover credit courses. Okay? Now, if you live outside of Montgomery County, but in the state of Maryland, if you take the course for credit, you pay double what Montgomery County residents pay, but you take it as a non-credit student. Everybody in the state of Maryland pays the same to take a non-credit course at Montgomery College. If you're taking it for credit, you live out of the county but in the state, you pay double. If you live out of state, you pay about triple. Okay, so financially, it's cheaper to take it as a non-credit course if you live anywhere outside of Montgomery County. In the classroom, I don't know if you're credit or non-credit. I don't care if you're credit or non-credit. Everybody's doing the same thing. Outcomes-wise, the only difference really is if you, and this comes up in the next part, if you're non-credit, you show up 80% of the time, you get a completion certificate. So-and-so took residential electrical wire. It's really all it says. If you're a credit student, you get a grade, A, B, C, D, F. You apply the credits for a degree or a certificate, which, by the way, the degree and certificate options, we'll go over those in detail toward the end of the semester as well. But those credits stay there there basically forever, and you can apply them for free. So that's the only real difference for credit and non-credit. In the classroom, it doesn't happen. But if you do want to make the move, you've got to go through that registration process. Just telling you want to do it doesn't make it happen. I have nothing. Okay? All right. Attendance expected and required. Missing excessive class time can result in a failing grade, or if you don't miss that, or if you don't make that 80% mark, you're non-credit, no certificate. Let me know if you're going to be absent. I know things come up. Some of you might think, oh man, week 8, I've already got something. I'm going to be out of town for a family reunion or whatever. It's not a big deal. It's not a problem. Missing a lab night is potentially problematic. Because in a regular semester where we meet face to face, normally what I do is I do the lecture first, and then we spend the rest of the time doing lab, which means that a really robust lab period, we don't do 4 to 5 hours of lab. We do 2 hours, between 2 and 3. So if you miss a lab in this remote teaching environment, you're going to miss a lot more content. You're going to miss probably what we would do in 2 lab periods in a regular semester. And certainly if you miss one in the beginning, you are going to be at a major disadvantage when you show up to the next lab. Later in the semester, probably not as critical, but every lab we do, you can assume that we're going to do something that you've never done before, even though it might be building on knowledge you already have, or it might be brand new knowledge, right? So it's really critical that you guys, if learning how to do this stuff is what you're here for, it's critical that you make the labs. If you have an issue like, I don't get off of work till 5 and I can't get there till 5:30 or something like that, again, not a big deal. You show up when you can. I have students all the time. I get off work, or I've got to pick up my kids from school and drop them off, or whatever. So if you're gonna be a few minutes late or something like that, we can work around it. Okay, but as much as you can, try not to be absent. However, and the college will tell you this, there is some. I'm supposed to be getting some PowerPoint COVID safety thing that I'm going to be able to share with students. I don't have it, so I'll probably share it with you next week. God, I lost my train of thought. Oh well, it'll come back. Hold on.
I do have one question.
Yeah, go ahead. Maybe I'll remember what I was saying.
On days that we have lab, will we get a notice a week ahead of time, or are they always going to be on Tuesday?
They're always going to be on Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
They will never deviate from our assigned day or time. I'm never going to say, hey, why don't you guys show up Monday at 3? Not going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen. They actually, believe it or not, when we were trying to make this thing work, they were telling us that, because normally, we do the lecture, and then we quite literally walk down the hall and do the lab. Well, I can't sit, and you guys can't sit at home and listen to me lecture from my home, and then we end at 6:50 and everybody show up at
Drive, yeah.
That can't happen. And we had to make it clear to them that that's not going to work. So all of that stuff kind of got flushed out. And one of the things that they proposed was, well, maybe you could, do the lab this day and then do the lecture a different day of the week. And it was like, well, no, if a student commits to Tuesday from 5 to 10, we can't ask them to show up on Friday. So that's never going to happen, okay? Now, we may not follow the schedule exactly as I have it written out today. It did change, and that'll come directly from me. You guys will know ahead of me. But hopefully we can stick good, especially this semester, because things are so categorized. Where this is only lecture and this is only lab. I'm going to try as best as I can to not have to deviate at all from the schedule. Certainly not because of me. But again, the college could change the rules and things happen. So other than that, this approximately 5 to 10 p.m. time frame. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as far as grading, I already said that non-credit people get a certificate. That's the sort of breakdown for percentage. Attendance and participation is 10%. Exams, there's 3 exams, 20% each, 60%, and then the lab work is 30%. I don't give you a project and then grade it and give you. I'm give you a project, grade it, give you another project, grade it, give you another project, grade it. It's not how it works. It works like it would on a job, right? When your boss, when you're brand new electrician or brand new company or whatever, he says, hey, I need you to get that done. So you go get it done. It takes you 2 days, 3 days, whatever. And then he says, okay, here's your next project, right? And you get that done. Okay, here's your next project. And, at the end of those several projects, you've got a pretty good idea of the kind of work you do, how fast you are, how good you are, if you know what you're doing, if you don't know what you're doing. He doesn't grade you on everything you do every day, and neither do I. So I'll get a really good sense of your abilities, your skill level. Is this guy trying to fake it? And believe me, a lot of people try to fake it in the past game, it can work. But in the lab, it's just not going to work. So I get a good sense. We're only 12 students. Normally we have 16. So I'm going to be there watching you work all the time, and I'll have a good idea of what your level is at the end of the semester, and that's how I assign a grade. And I'll share that grade with you, when we get, at the end. If you ask me, I'll share the grade of the grade with you, and then, ultimately assign you a letter grade in the system. Okay? Attendance and participation is something I always have in there, because I've had students not show up to lecture and only show up for lab. That ain't gonna fly. And even though you think, well, 10%, I would have got an A, I'll only get a B. No, I'm gonna grade you a lot harsher than that. Just because you're the best electrician on the group, if you don't show up one day a week, you ain't gonna last very long. And that's how this class is. Okay? And again, if you got a legitimate reason why you can do what you can do today, I understand something could come up with me as well. But I don't want you to make that happen. A couple of semesters ago, I had a guy that would show up for lecture, we'd walk over to the lab room, and every single lab within 10 minutes I'd look around and take a call. And he kept coming to lecture, and I never called him out on it, because he's an adult, I'm not going to call him out on it. And he actually asked me why he failed. And I looked at him and I said, you and I both know why you failed. And he kind of looked at me and smirked, and he goes, the lab thing? And I said, yeah, the lab, right? So, you guys are here to learn. I'm here to teach you. If both of us are committed to that, we're not going to have these problems. Okay? You'll see in the schedule, I assign readings from the book as a reference. Again, it's a recommended book. Don't get caught up on it. The book, however, is a really good website. There's a lot of good wiring diagrams in the book that show you you've got 3 receptacles in a row. How do you wire them together? And the book is really good in the diagram, picture, graphics department. So it's a really good reference for that kind of stuff. Now, why do you need the book? You have me to show you how to do it. You're right. I'm going to show you how to do things, and sometimes I'll show you a couple times how to do things. But if you've been expected to be doing something for the last 8 labs, let's say, and you ask me how to do it, I'm going to tell you, well, if this were the real world and you didn't have me to ask, how would you figure it out? You're going to talk to somebody else, maybe look up online, find a diagram or something like that. So that's how we do things out there. Your foreman on the job may or may not know exactly what you're doing, literally, technically what you're doing. Probably he's done it before and he's done it many, many times. But that's not always true. You might be working on a piece of new technology, and the last time your foreman or superintendent was out in the field actually working on these motors was 15 years ago, and you're working on something brand new. So it's going to be up to you sometimes to teach yourself or to find answers. And that's true out in the real world, and it's going to be true in the classroom. Okay, so I'm not going to leave you to fend for yourself, but I'm going to make you work for it sometimes, and that's okay. That's part of the process. All right, so lab. We're going to meet on campus for labs. We'll talk about the schedule in a minute. There will be absolutely no lecture, though when we're in the actual lab, there might be times when am I darkened in the screen? You guys not see me?
Yeah, that's what we do tonight.
You know what? When I started out, it was daylight. Now it's getting dark. Hold on, let me turn the light.
Nice.
How's that? That's better, right?
Much better.
I'm fine.
Yeah, that's the kind of things you guys got to tell me. All right. So, anyway, obviously in the labs, especially the early labs, I'm going to have to demonstrate something, or I'm going to have to tell you, okay, put that there, put that there, put that there, that kind, right? What I'm not going they're saying, look, you cannot. I think they're afraid that. So the history of the Gudelsky building, all of us in building trades, all of us in automotive, we kind of get to do our own thing because what we do is kind of its own thing compared to the rest of the college. And these sort of general expectations or rules or whatever that a lot of other academic areas have or have to follow, they can't apply to us because what we do is so very, very, very different. So in a lot of ways, we've always kind of been the wild, wild west of the Gudelsky campus. On the other hand, we've also done a lot of things that the college has looked at and said, hey, that would work really great for chemistry, or that would work really great for that. Or, like, we were one of the very first programs, for example, to do holistic, where we have both credit and non-credit in the same class. We were one of the very first areas. Man, why am I losing my train of thought? Anyway, there's a lot of things that they're worried about, and I think at least administratively, they're worried that maybe some of us might think we can just kind of do our own thing, like we tend to do, because we got to get the job done. So they've been real strict sticklers about the lecture. So I don't want to get caught standing in front of a room lecturing to you guys with you guys sitting at the desks, and you don't want that either, because that's just going to compromise the whole situation. Okay. So other than those explanations and demonstrations, it may require that I jot something up on the board so you can see it, the drawing, or whatever, and that's fine. But we're not going to be doing anything about it. Okay. When you do show up for lab, the shoes that you wear must cover your entire foot. So no flip-flops, no sandals, nothing like that. You can wear shorts, you can wear pants, you can wear a long sleeve, short sleeve, hat, no hat, Mickey Mouse ears, I don't really care. Your shoes must cover your whole foot, okay? If you show up with shoes that don't cover your foot, you're not going to be allowed to participate in the lab. And they don't have to be steel toe, they don't have to be leather, and you might think, well, that's kind of silly. If I can wear just any plain old shoes, why would it matter? I will drop a screwdriver, pointy end down on your foot, and you will immediately notice the difference between a relatively thin layer of fabric and bare skin. Now, I don't want to do that, and I'm not going to do that, but if that were to happen, you would understand why. You got to cover your whole foot because things are going to fall off the table, even if it's just something small and plastic. But if you drop a pair of screwdriver or lineman pliers on your foot, you want to make sure it's covered. Okay? And then for MC rules, and again, I'll get that guideline from them, share it with everybody. But you gotta wear a mask. Gotta bring your own mask. We will be providing face shields. They did not tell us you have to wear gloves. Most of the time, I discourage people from wearing gloves while doing the lab because what we tend to be working with, at least in 150, is we're working with things that are small screws, and we're bending wires into small radii and things like that. And if you have big bulky gloves on, it can make your job impossible. So if you want to wear gloves, that's okay. Try to get some really nice tight fitting gloves that just give you ample dexterity in your fingers, so you're not constantly taking them off and putting them on and taking them off and putting them on. We're not going to be doing anything real heavy duty. We're not lifting heavy things. We're not pulling cables through the wall or anything where we want to wear gloves to protect our hands. So in that sense, don't expect your hands to take a lot of beating, at least not in 150. And by the way, in 250 and 252, I will recommend that you probably want to wear gloves if you're going to. You could occasionally cut your finger. It happens. I tell people this. I tell everybody this. If you go into construction, I don't care what trade you go into, carpentry, electrician, if you're just the guy driving the truck delivering supplies, you will get injured. Period. Now, hopefully the extent of your injury is nothing more than a cut on the finger or you stubbed your toe or something like that, right? But at least something minor like that happens to all of us, right? We work with tools, we work with wires, the tips can be sharp, things like that. Okay, we've got a small first aid kit in the lab, so I'm not worried about that. And I'll discuss injury etiquette when we get into that room. So, final gloves, the ones you can't even buy them anymore because they're short, but final gloves, things like that, those don't work, they immediately rip. So if you get gloves, if you bring gloves, the tightest fitting, the ones that are, give you the most flexibility in your fingers is going to be the one to go. But they're really, really optional for this course. All right. All right. Tools. And one of the things, if you look on this same page, next week is titled Electrical Theory and Tools. So next week we're going to go into a lot of detail about tools. Certainly the tools you guys are going to use in the lab, which is primarily these top three. You're going to use a tape measure a little bit in the first lab, maybe the first two labs. After that, mostly you're going to be using these three tools right here. But when we do talk about tools next week, and these are all, by the way, these are hand tools. We're going to talk about a lot of other hand tools, and we're going to also talk about power tools. We're going to talk about manufacturers. We're going to talk about cordless versus corded tools. And, how many volts should my battery be? All that kind of stuff. Which one? This one's really expensive. Is it worth it? This one's really cheap. Should I avoid it? Right? Which are the professional tools and which are the kind of Joe Homeowner tools? We're going to get into all that kind of stuff next week. Okay? And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to be able to go on campus and do next week's lecture from the lab room. Where I'm going to be the only one in there is what I mean. And I'll do it through a computer because we've got all the tools there that I can actually bring out and I want to show it. If I'm not able to do that, I've got pretty much everything I need in my garage. And you will actually, and anything that I want to show you that I don't actually physically have and can't hold up so you can see it, we'll find a picture on the screen. I mean, I could very easily just go online and search, Milwaukee Sawzall, and you can see a picture of it, right? And even, because everything's so high tech today, you can even click on the picture, right, and do like a little 3D view of it, and that's great. But I prefer to show people real tools in real hands, preferably in person, but this is going to be the second best thing. Okay, so we're going to go a lot into tools next week. So I don't want to get into it too much. However, I want to mention that lineman pliers is one of the tools you guys are going to be using after week one, let's say, pretty much every day. You're also going to be using a wire stripper tool, commonly called a combination tool. Sometimes it's called a stripper. Okay, and you're going to be using a flat blade screwdriver, not a Phillips. Okay, I realize, and I probably don't want to go into this in the classroom, but I'll say it now. Just about every screw that you encounter today is compatible with either. Does everybody know what a Phillips screwdriver is? It's the start point. Everybody knows what that is, right? And a
Yes.
flat blade is the flat blade. Again, you'll see them next week. But anyway, just about every screw on every switch, for example. Just about every screw on every piece of electrical. Just about every screw on everywhere. You put in a brand new door. Just about every screw allows you to use a Phillips screwdriver as well as, or a flat blade screwdriver. And you'll see that that's true on a lot of our electrical systems. Now, why don't I let you use a Phillips screwdriver? Because with a flat blade screwdriver, you get a lot more bite on the screw, and it allows you to tighten it sufficiently in a way that sometimes you can do with a Phillips, especially if you've got a Phillips and it's wearing out or is worn out. Okay? So, believe it or not, even though everyday life isn't like this, electricians, for the most part, we still like to use flat blade screwdrivers because the things that we install are designed for flat blade screwdrivers, as well as Phillips, but they're designed in a way that the flat blade screwdriver and the things that we have to work with fit together really, really well, and it allows us to get sufficient bite on things and tighten things the way they need to tighten. Okay. Now, it says here you'll need some hand tools for this course. We have sufficient number of tools in the classroom for everybody to use. You do not need to bring your own tools. However, if you would like to bring, and I should also say that any tools that, so you're going to grab a pair of lineman pliers, you're going to grab a screwdriver, you're going to grab a wire strip. You and only you are going to be using those during your lab. And then when you're done, you're going to put them away, and then all the tools are going to get disinfected, and then they'll be used by another group of students a couple days later. Okay, so that's going to be the procedure for the tools that we use. So they will in fact be cleaned after every use, and you'll even have the opportunity, I was told today, that we'll have a disinfectant available, and if you wish to clean them right before you use them, you'll have that opportunity as well. If you'd like to bring your own tools, I'm okay with that. They must be professional quality tools. Okay? So if you went to the grocery, if you went to Giant, to buy some frozen pizzas the other day, and you saw a 12-piece screwdriver set there on sale for $8, that's not coming anywhere near my classroom. Okay? Nowhere near my lab. You have to have professional quality tools, and that means screwdrivers are probably going to cost you $10. Okay? Again, we'll get into those details next week, and I'm also going to give you like numbers, prices, what you can expect to pay for certain things. And it's not something we need to worry about now. But if you do have your own tools and you are considering maybe wanting to bring them, first of all, you're going to be the only one that's using them or allowed to use them. But just check with me first. I just want to know what you have. And, just because you don't have what I have, it doesn't mean it's not going to be allowed. But I just want to check what you have and make sure it's the right brand, or the right quality, the right size, all that stuff. Okay, so that is an option. If you don't want to bring your own, then don't worry about it. You'll have everything you need. Because we do work on the bench, you're for the most part going to be standing in the same location, working on your board, and maybe walking over and grabbing a switch and something like that. You're going to have kind of a workstation. You're not going to be walking around and need to walk around with tools. So tool belt not really necessary. You'll be able to put your tools down on the bench right next to where you're working. So I wouldn't worry about that. That would be more helpful in the more advanced courses, but this one it's not really bringing. But if you want to stand there with 15 pounds worth of tools hanging on your waist, making you lean in one direction for 4 hours, be my guest and call your chiropractor. That's what you're going to need to talk about. Trust me. Okay, so email. Obviously, everybody got my email that I sent out, and so your Montgomery College email account is the official means of communication. Please do not ask me to only email you to your personal account. I don't know how to make that merge with other things. I'm not that computer literate. You got to understand that if we communicate formally, it's got to be through MCE. Right? Plus, sometimes personal emails get caught up in the software that blocks those emails. Yeah, so we don't want to have that happen. So if you need to contact me, the best way is going to be through Montgomery County Montgomery College email. However, if I need to send, let's say I need to send out a diagram to everybody, right? I'm going to send things to you guys as a group, as a class, through Blackboard. Okay? That is, I'm also going to post the syllabus on Blackboard, so it'll always be on Blackboard. Those are the only two things I'm going to use Blackboard. I'm not posting videos, I'm not going to throw up video games, I'm not, smiley face, all that. Ignore Blackboard for that. However, what I would suggest you do is, isn't it the case that if I send you an email on Blackboard, doesn't it give you a notice in your Montgomery County College email? That's true, right?
Yes, that's true.